Hi, Rick Edgeman coming to you again from Fort Hays State University. In this short video, I want to talk to you about 5 common principles of quality culture. These will be resident in most organizations that practice any sort of quality approach, whether that's total quality management or Six Sigma or Lean, or just about any other ordinary sort of quality approach or common sort of quality approach. The first of those principles is that the customer is the ultimate judge of value. And what we mean by that is that for the most part, something is only worth as much as somebody is willing to pay. As a good example of that, many years ago, 25 years ago, I thought I would teach my sons the fine art of collecting baseball cards. And so I bought a closeout box of minor league cards from a discount store. And I don't know how many cards were in the box, probably 1,000 cards in the box. And there was a very, very small chance that you could get a signed and autographed card by a player who is now in baseball's Hall of Fame, named Mike Schmidt, a third baseman for the Philadelphia Phillies, 548 lifetime home runs. The card at that time was valued at about $200. I don't know what it is theoretically valued at now, but what I know is that what it's really valued at is only what someone is willing to pay for it. The customer is the ultimate judge of value. Second is the search for a lean approach. And what we mean by a lean approach is that anything that doesn't add value, unless it serves some other essential purpose, we need to strive to eliminate it. So what does that mean? It means that we can serve our customers better, we can serve our customers faster and less expensively by doing this. Moreover, when you eliminate redundancies, you are actually making things easier in terms of repairability and so on. I mean, imagine if you have something with 5 parts compared to something that serves the same function with 100 parts. Generally speaking, simpler is better. Not always, of course, but generally simpler is better. So we look for elimination of waste. Now, this is probably best known under the guise of the so-called Toyota production system, or sometimes called just-in-time manufacturing. So there are many different types of waste. We might cover those in some future video, but the reality of it is that anything that causes rework, anything that causes poorly calculated investments, excessive inventory, anything that doesn't take full advantage of the skill set, the knowledge, the abilities that an individual brings to the workplace, all of those are waste. And so what we are trying to do is eliminate anything that is wasteful and make things as lean as possible. The third principle is a statistical principle, and it is controlling the process means reducing variation. Now here, what we want to be able to do is to distinguish between variation, unintended differences in outputs, as opposed to variety, intentional differences in outputs. 2 different shades of red that we intend to be 2 different shades of red, as opposed to 2 different shades of red that were supposed to be identical. Okay. In the first case, the ones that are intended to be different, that is variety. The ones that are intended to be similar or identical, that would be, but are not, that would be variation. Involving and empowering people, number 4. So we usually talk about empowerment as though it is a right or just a smart thing to do, or that the people who are empowering, let's say upper level leadership, empowering employees to accomplish something, or you empowering your children to accomplish something, well, we think of the people who are giving empowerment maybe as nice people. That may or may not be true in any given instance, but what I can tell you is that there is a business case for empowerment. And that is the real reason that you see empowerment practiced in organizations. So empowerment is practiced because it is an approach that is intended to put the solution to customer problems as close in time and as close from a communication perspective as possible to the customer. The closer that you can put the solution to the customer, the more likely it is that you can produce customer satisfaction or at least resolution to their problems in as near to real time as possible. That's what we're looking for in terms of empowerment. And then the last one would be that essentially continuous improvement is what we're after, a never-ending cycle of improvement. The so-called continual improvement cycle or spiral. Now that can be practiced many ways, but one of the most common ways is covered in one of the other videos that we've put out there. And that other video addresses basic quality tools that are common. Some of those ones that were included in there were things like the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, and Pareto analysis, and cause and effect diagrams, and SWOT analysis, and process maps. Well, ordinarily speaking, when we're talking about the continual improvement cycle or continuous improvement cycle or spiral, we are referring to use of the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, which I ordinarily cover in a modified form. An SPDSA cycle, meaning that you start not with plan, you start with study. An initial study phase that is intended to give you the baseline positioning of the process itself. Once you understand the baseline positioning and capabilities of the process, then you would launch into Plan, Do, Study, Act. Plan a change to the process that you believe will benefit its performance. Do the change, preferably on a small scale, since in fact it may not produce the results that you need in order to justify rolling it out on a larger scale. Once you have gone through the initial study phase, then plan, then do, you should have results coming in. Study, analyze those results to see what direction they point you in. And that should lead you to a place where before you ever act, that you actually standardize the process. Standardize so that you have a more portable solution so that it doesn't look different every place that you put it. You have a process, not a million different processes. That's the purpose of standardization. That's one of those places where unintended variation can creep in if you don't first standardize. So study, establish baseline results, capabilities. Plan a change that will benefit the process, do the change preferably on a small scale, study the results of the change, standardize the process once you've done that, and afterwards act. And ordinarily speaking, act will be an indication that you should put into play whatever change that you are looking at, since it will oftentimes represent a substantial enough improvement to justify its larger scale implementation. So that is what we usually mean by the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle. And typically what that means is that here's what a quality culture looks like. We are to actively listen to the customer. In actively listening to the customer, we should identify what it is that they need, what it is that they want, what their expectations are. And through our people, through our processes, and through actions that limit waste, we should make progress on those, hopefully substantial progress, using the Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle or something more or less analogous to that. That should deliver more value to the customer. More value to the customer is usually delivered in three forms: quality, better quality, lower cost, better delivery. And as you can see from the arrows in this, it's intended to be a cycle. That is, we continue to listen actively to the customer. We continue to, improve our processes and our products and our services so that we deliver more value, a never-ending cycle. And that is what we're after. Thank you.